right. Hello, everybody. I cannot believe this. I am back. I am here to talk about the new moon in Virgo. I am super grateful to be rebooting this YouTube channel. It has been a minute, and for good reason, I might add. Um, as a card carrying manifesting generator, things need to excite me in order for me to want to get involved. And when I first started this channel, I was spiritually breaking open. I hit this point where I was getting all these messages and saying, you need to start a YouTube, you need to talk about this. And I was living in Brazil at the time. And it was really great to be able to share everything that I had thus far and to grow in the channel and start to incorporate comedy and all these other elements that I didn't see coming. And then I hit a point where it was like, you need to take a break. Well, because I follow the moon, and because I am in devotional rhythm and practice to her cycles, I got and received messages that it's time to get back on. So that's what's going on. I also am going to invite you, after you hear about this new moon in Virgo transmission, to come and hold sacred space with me in ceremony on every new moon and full moon. I call it the Lunar Alchemy Circle. If you are a woman who is dedicated to tapping into your own intuition and to really co-create with the cycles of nature, and particularly with lunar wisdom, I invite you, my dear, to join a sacred circle. I call it the Lunar Alchemy Circle. We come together on new moon and full moons to do breath work, and I lead it, facilitate it in real time, curating with the stars, with the energies of the planet. And it is a time to either plant seeds or to shed layers and really come together and work and use this ancient technology to create the life we desire. So, if that is something of interest, the link will be below in the comments. And I'm excited. And I can't wait to welcome you there. We have a really beautiful group of women, solid wildflowers in this garden right now. And yeah, so without further ado, let's say, let us talk about this new moon in Virgo. I'm really excited about this new moon in Virgo. First, I'll let you know and disclose fully, I am a Virgo. I'm not only a Virgo sun, I'm a Venus cazimi in Virgo, which means that Venus sits at the heart of the sun in Virgo. So whether I like it or not, I love Virgo. Venus is considered in her fall in this sign. So it's really hard for Venus to be able to be sensual and to behave in the way she wants. And at the same time, wherever Venus is in your chart, it's what you love. So I love this sign of Virgo. And I wanted to first talk about the energies behind this sign. And maybe I'm a little biased in saying this, but quite frankly, Virgo is a sign that just wants to do humanity right. Okay. Maybe we are the ones that are in the deepest form of service, right? This is the harvest maiden, the sign of the harvest maiden, after all. And it's Mercury ruled. So there's going to be a lot of attention to detail that takes place in a sign like this. This is super Virgo, right? So, and everybody, even though you might not be a Virgo sun, if you were born on this planet, you do have Virgo in your chart. So it's going to be calculating, where the time you were born, you look at the rising sign, and then you see, where is Virgo sitting in my chart? Where do I have this energy in me that comes out? And, when I think about a super Virgo energy, I think about things that I say to myself, and I'm like, oh, I guess that really is very Virgo. So, just to talk about the energy of wanting to be a good human being, wanting to get things done right and efficiently, I'm going to share with you one of my deepest prayers. Like, this is it. You're getting like inside preview of a serious Virgo mind. I have a Virgo stellium. I've got the Sun, Venus, and Saturn all in this temple. Okay. And I don't know where it comes from. I really don't. But a deep prayer inside of me that I really mean, and I'm talking like the deepest place I can plant it in my heart, is whatever I do in this life, I want to be able to cross over. And at the moment of exiting this realm and going into this new one, I want to be able to high five a bunch of people and celebrate it and look back and say, oh, I freaking did it. I did it. I got it right. You know, I want to play the game of life correctly. And this is a very heavy Virgo signature, right? It is a big part of somewhere in our chart. And, you know, the cosmic joke is there is no way to perfectly play this game of life. And that is what is really hard for Virgos. It's really hard to see that no matter how much, we've got Pisces on the other end giving us all the spiritual wisdom, cracking the codes of the matrix, and we're looking like, oh, okay, well, that's what you got. Well, then let me be able to put all of that orderly together so I can be perfect and live my life according to these amazing spiritual wisdom, right? Because if I have the answers, then I should be able to navigate this life properly. And we can be really hard on ourselves when that doesn't work out that way. Another signature of Virgo is that of the initiate. This is the harvest maiden. When you think of ceremonies, ancient ceremonies back in the day, right? There's a reason why they call upon a virgin, for some sort of ceremony. There's something considered very magical about this sign. I mean, it is the temple of Hermes. It's the feminine earth temple of Mercury. And, with that comes a need for maturity, a need to be able to step into some sort of initiation. And with Virgos, it's typically because of the time of year, and the light is about to change, at least from the Northern Hemisphere perspective, and go into the dark half of the year. There are some darker initiations, this kind of loss of innocence that is critical, or like, archetypal in the path of a heavy Virgo signature in your chart. And it can, come through the form of trauma. Lots of things can happen, and how can we hold on to the sweetness and the purity that still is within us, no matter what takes place in our lives? So these are the energies that are happening at the time of this new moon, and it's really heavily influenced by Mercury. We've got let me see. I've got some notes because I want to stay on track. And one of the things that's really interesting is that Mercury at this time is sitting in the house of Leo. Mercury is the ruler of this new moon, which is taking place at 0 degrees Virgo. So as soon as the sun crosses the threshold from Leo into Virgo, the new moon takes place. And as the new moon takes place, Uranus is overcoming this new moon in a dominant square, meaning that Uranus's influence is going to weigh heavily on this new moon. Uranus is in the temple of Gemini, another Mercury ruled sign. So Mercury is all over this seed that you're planting. And with this square from Uranus, squares are considered, they're tough, it's like an itch that needs to be scratched. There's an action that needs to be taken. There's tension. There's a clash of some sort. And with Uranus and Gemini, it's funny because in Virgo, Mercury really cares about morality. And in Gemini, it's kind of like just create and see what can happen in the magic of being your own alchemist. So we think of Uranus coming through for some sort of liberation to take place within us, right? And Uranus doesn't need to be polite or sugarcoat things. It is a very disruptive energy. Uranus coming in can all of a sudden completely change the game and surprise us with innovation. In an air sign like Gemini, you're thinking of, maybe there's some sort of form of communication. This, me coming on and like, surprise, I'm back on YouTube. This is very Uranus and Gemini, hitting the dharma of my sun in Virgo of like purpose and mission and what I'm doing. So there is some form of new innovation that is breaking through, that is forcing your hand to take action. And that is going to be up to you to decide. So I'm excited. It seems like a really good an exciting new moon. It's also a new moon that is going to break open the eclipse portal. The next lunation we will have after this is going to be a full moon eclipse in Pisces. So, what is transpiring now in the Temple of Virgo is an initiation piece that's going to hold the chaotic energy that's going to start to come through when it comes time for eclipse season. So, Virgo is good with sacrifice, that's part of the recipe, I guess. Idealistically, we believe to live a worthy life. So, in what sense but something could be breaking through during this new moon seed, through these intentions. And it's for your own liberation. So I have a couple of things that I wanted to say as it talks about the new moon. One thing to mention is that Mercury sitting in Leo as the ruler of this new moon, wherever a planet is in the sky, they are essentially under the care or stewardship of a certain zodiac sign. So with Mercury in the Temple of Leo and with the Sun in the Temple of Mercury, they have mutual reception with one another, even though they can't see one another. So you can think about it as like telepathically, they are still communicating with one another. The Sun's like, oh yeah, Mercury's in my house. I'll take care of him. And Mercury in the Sun's house is like, oh yeah, he's in my temple of Virgo. Yeah, he's good. I'll make sure he's good. And with Mercury in Leo, Mercury was just retrograde. We had a whole retrograde in Leo that happened. Mercury turned direct, and now he's moving forward again. And this coming from, going in and out of the underworld, which is what ancient astrologers looked at in terms of retrograde, is to go into that underworld and then come back out. Mercury was dealing with a lot of self-worthiness issues, things that the Temple of Leo would allow us to focus on. And now that Mercury's gone direct, and all of a sudden there's this beautiful new moon in Virgo and some sort of like bright idea from Uranus coming in to hit it and electrocute it, I've got to imagine that there's some sort of experiment, right? At 0 degrees Virgo, there's some sort of experiment for an alternative way of nourishment for ourselves. And maybe it's for our own worthiness, right? The ability to show up just as we are, you know? And maybe there's a new practice or a new teaching or a radical shift of mindset, right? That's going to trust that this new rebellion taking place is for our own good, or we are doing this in the service of something or someone, something else, something greater, right? Me coming on and, rebooting this YouTube channel does feel very much like in that service, right? And it's fun for me, and it's a little disruptive because part of us, can feel like we're not ready. Virgo has a very heavy signature, like, oh, am I gonna, if I'm not perfect, I don't know if I could do this, exactly the way it's supposed to go. And I think that this new moon is going to force our hand, that it says, you know what, it doesn't matter. You're ready. You're good enough to go forward. So something like that. Keep that in mind when you're planting your seeds of intention. Another thing about Virgo is we know how to get things done, and we know how to get things done efficiently, right? Yes, it could be to our downfall at a certain point, but I will say I have this memory of whether I was working, as I was growing up, working like different jobs. I used to be a receptionist at a haircutting salon or a barista at a coffee shop. And I needed to understand the rhythm first, but as soon as I found the rhythm, I understood everything that was wrong about the order or the protocols going on in this, system that I was taught. And it was like, no, 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 no. We're going to put this first. I remember the sweeping the hair was like a big thing. And like, when should you sweep the hair or timing the tickets so that everybody got their appointments on time? I don't know what it is about the Virgo mind. I mean, obviously it's Mercury ruled and Mercury is just brilliant. So with organization, with that sort of skill set. So there is something about being able to follow through with like repetition and make those subtle changes for maximum efficiency. Now, the thing about this new moon seed that you're planting with Uranus coming in, maybe there's a breakthrough on ways to reinvent, something that you're working on. And a really good mantra is going to be, can I be 1% better at, something? Can I move the needle 1% in the direction that I want to go? So allowing yourself to have some grace, because with Uranus coming in, it might feel like all of a sudden something is started and you don't really feel ready to hold it. Have faith, right? That's the Virgo Pisces axis on the other side. Just have faith, surrender, trust, right? The North Node is in Pisces right now. Trust that whatever is coming through, you're going to do it well. And if you see corrections, there's going to be some care. There's going to be some meticulous care that's needed. And as long as you are just 1% better every day, 1% better, then you're going to do it right. Okay. Uranus is insisting that we innovate here. And so look for surprises. With Uranus, you can't really predict what's coming through, but something is here for our own liberation, our own evolution. So, practical seed is start one daily ritual, right? Where you can adapt, right? Maybe it starts off as, I do breath work in the morning. And, sometimes I can't do it every morning at the exact same hour, but I make sure, can I at least do something in it so that I'm going in that direction, right? Have some grace and know that it's okay to change things up. Don't be so rigid or stuck. Maybe that's what Uranus is trying to tell us, not be so rigid or stuck in this process. Because with Virgo, we can get very heady. Another thing that this new moon signature is bringing is, at 0 degrees in Virgo, it is an inception point into this sign. And it's almost like, I have this visual of like the harvest maiden coming in with whatever it is, the lessons she's learned. And now it's like her next level of growth and maturity is being asked to take place. And with Uranus, it's like, oh, I'm getting a bigger role than I thought I could handle. But, we can handle it. There are themes about maturity. And so, look to see where Virgo sits in your chart. If I've got it in my fourth, but the fourth and 10th are on the same axis and they're sort of talking to one another. So as much as fourth is what's uncommon with the fourth house is that it is also associated with the mystery schools, right? It is the unseen, the hidden realm below the surface. And the 10th in career, I'm finding that there is some sort of magical elixir taking place that is going to support me as I move forward to bring offerings into this world to help people who have undergone sexual assault heal those wounds, heal guilt and heal shame. Super Virgo, right? When we don't get things right, we can feel super guilty and shameful about it when we're too hard on ourselves. And something is coming in right now of through ritual and ceremony to be able to want to create an offering And I'm nervous about it. I'm not going to lie. I'm very nervous. And to be able to hold space and craft something that is safe for others to really experience and also to really liberate and free them. So that's what's coming up for me. And it does feel like this next level of maturity. And I'm just holding it that nothing has to be perfect. The intention comes from my heart, right? Mercury and Leo, all about the heart right now, how to speak about the heart, how to feel about the heart, how to recognize and show others that, ultimately this heart is always pure. So that's one of the things that these seeds are here to sustain you. But whatever you plant, that there is something that the moon and the planets are telling you they want to shock you into living, to shock you into aliveness. So I hope that supports you in whatever it is that you're looking to create. And I will be back. I'll be doing more of these videos. I'll come on for the new moon and full moons. I will also be bringing back comedy because it is important to laugh. That is one thing. I may have a heavy Virgo signature, but laughing is good for the soul for everybody. So comedy skits are going to start to come back, as well as, spiritual conversations about certain things that excite me. So these are seeds that I'm planting. And, if you don't know yet what it is, you can always come get a reading from me. I'll put the link in the bottom and we can talk about this. We can talk about where these influences are sitting in your chart. Remember, this is part one of two new moons that are taking place in the sign of Virgo. So this house of Virgo is getting lit up in our charts. And I will be back in a week or so to talk about the eclipse season that is about to roll in. If you are looking to create a devotional practice, working with lunar wisdom, and you're a woman who'd like to harness your innate powers and become a lunar alchemist, I invite you to come to our breathwork ceremonies. The link is in the bottom. And for those of you who are coming, I look forward to seeing you. It is going to be amazing. And I just send you so many blessings. It feels really good to be back and sending all my love. All right. Take care.